Did Rachel Reeves sail too close to the wind in the budget, and are the markets punishing her for that? Right, look at this. What we're looking at here is the cost of government borrowing. The higher the cost, the more debt interest has to be paid by government. And that's money that could be going on schools and hospitals. It's changing by the minute. In fact, you can see it today. It's going in the wrong direction. As of today, that figure is at a 27-year high. That's caused by lower growth and expectations that interest rates are going to stay higher for longer. But all of that adds up to make Rachel Reeves' life harder. And that's because she is so hemmed in. In her first budget, the Labour Chancellor set herself a hugely ambitious target, which is to have no borrowing at all to fund day-to-day government spending. And look, over the last 20 years, that's just not been achieved at all. All of this is above the 0% line. It just hasn't happened. And now it's forecast, the official projections back in October, forecast for it to happen in a few years' time. But only, look at this, by the narrowest of margins, £9.9 billion. That's the headroom that she's giving herself, the wiggle room against her self-imposed borrowing limits. But if you think that sounds like a lot of money, well, you've got to remember that total government spending is over £1 trillion a year. So it's only really a small amount. And on the back of that rising debt forecasts, the rising debt costs, analysts suggest that that headroom could today be as little as £1 billion. But the real verdict on the headroom that matters comes on March the 26th, when Rachel Reeves returns to the Commons for the spring statement. And that's when the Office for Budget Responsibility pronounces on how much wiggle room she's got. Now, inside the Treasury, they know that on that date, there is a real chance that the OBR rule that she has breached her limits and that they'll have to take action. Now, I understand that she's determined to stick to these tough borrowing limits. And inside the Treasury, they know that on that day, they cannot tax anymore. So there will only be one choice. If they do break their limits, Rachel Reeves is going to have to squeeze further growth in public spending yet further. That's going to be really hard. Let me give you some historical context for that. Look at the last 30 years of government spending reviews. That's normally when public spending goes up a fair old chunk. Look at the Blair years, the Brown years. It did drop during the coalition, but under Boris Johnson, it kind of went right back up again. Now look at what Rachel Reeves is planning to do in terms of increasing public spending. So here we have it. This year, big increase, 4.3%. Next year, moderate increase, 2.6%. But after that, she's already planning, really in historical terms, if you look at historical comparisons, relatively modest increases of 1.3%. How can you, if she's in trouble with her fiscal rules, can they scythe yet more money from these already wafer-thin increases without, for instance, and this is what advisors are telling me, breaking manifesto promises? Or maybe she can find money from the welfare budget. Look at this. The welfare budget is absolutely predicted to and forecast to explode. Look, you can see the line going up there. Now look at what that's made up of. And you can see the biggest chunk of that isn't children, isn't pensioners, but it's working age people. And for Labour in particular, reducing that, the amount of help that they give to people in work, will be hard and will cause a row. It's all difficult for Rachel Reeves. She's told us that she is the Iron Chancellor, but she's backed herself into something of a corner. It's getting more difficult. She blames the Tories, but then if there have to be further cuts or squeeze spending increases on public spending, will others be that forgiving?